Hola, soc Ángel Romero.
Hello, my name is Ángel Romero.
Hello.
Del Barcelona Film Fest. Acabem de veure i sentir i viure la vostra pel·li, perquè més que veure, The True Story of the Kelly Gang és una experiència.
We have just seen, listened to, and felt your movie because it's a whole experience, the story of the Kelly Gang.
Ens estem recuperant.
Thank you.
Encara.
So we're just recovering from it.
Oh, okay.
Avui és la tercera jornada del festival i bueno, estem molt contents de tenir la vostra pel·li, la vostra pel·lícula i de tenir-vos aquesta nit amb tots nosaltres. Aquesta edició, com ja sabeu per tot el que hem viscut aquests últims mesos, ha sigut complicada i tot està sortint, fins i tot ens estem connectant. Aquí a Barcelona són quasi les 12 de la nit i bé, sembla com un petit miracle, però ens posarem a fer el col·loqui ara mateix.
Okay, so this is the third day of the festival. We are very happy to have presented your movie at the festival. We are very happy to count on your presence tonight. It's 12 midnight here in Barcelona, almost 20 minutes to 12 midnight. It has been a very complex festival to organize, and it's almost a miracle that we can see each other and participate in this Q&A all together.
Thank you for having us.
Muchas gracias por habernos invitado.
Abans de passar a les preguntes del públic, a mi m'agradaria que tant Justin com tu, George, expliquéssiu quina motivació vau tenir per ficar-vos en aquesta, i ho dic en sentit positiu, bogeria, en aquesta pel·lícula tan pertorbadora i inquietant.
Before giving the floor to the audience, they might have some questions. I would like to ask each one of you, what were the reasons that led you to enter into such a disturbing, crazy story?
En sentit positiu.
And I mean it in a positive sense when I say crazy and disturbing.
Sure. Shall I go first, George?
Yeah.
Firstly, thank you for hosting the film and including it to your festival. One of my dreams is to come to Barcelona. I haven't been there, and hopefully I'll be there one day soon. But it's an enormous honor to be there at the festival.
En primer lugar, muchísimas gracias por haber incluido nuestra película en el festival. Uno de mis sueños sería poder viajar a Barcelona. Espero poder hacerlo un día.
The reason to make the film was that Ned Kelly in Australia is very iconic. Everyone knows him and everyone has a very strong opinion of him. He's someone that you grow up with as a child. What I was interested in was how history can kind of be rewritten for you. You know, that you're not in control of your own history. And I loved in the book and in the screenplay the idea of a character like Ned Kelly trying to wrestle back his own history. I found that in today's times a really powerful kind of idea.
Pues bien, el motivo por el que decidí plasmar la historia de Ned Kelly, que sucede en Australia, es porque Ned Kelly es un personaje icónico para este continente, ¿no? Es alguien que todo el mundo conoce, es alguien con el que has crecido y me interesó muchísimo el modo en que la historia puede reescribirse, es decir, que en cierto modo uno no tiene control, ¿no?, de lo que le sucede. Y tanto en el libro como en la pantalla, Ned Kelly lo que hace es luchar, rebelarse contra su propia historia y creo que este es un sentimiento muy potente para poderlo transmitir.
Well, for me, it was Justin. Basically, it was Justin's first film, Snowtown, is one of the most affecting cinema experiences I've ever had. And I'd auditioned for Justin once before, and felt properly put through my paces. So it was first and foremost the possibility of working with Justin, and then also just at the time of where I was at in my life as well with the character. My dad's from Australia, and I felt this pull sort of as I'm kind of in my mid-20s trying to, you know, figure out who you are, and you look to where you're from to inform that as well as where you want to go. And that sort of present, past, future, present struggle in Ned is something that I identified with, and especially when it involved Australian culture as well and Australian identity, it just felt like a sort of perfect storm.
Pues bien, para mí la razón para participar en esta película fue la primera película de Justin y Justin, ¿no? Snowtown. Yo nunca había hecho un casting para él y, bueno, coincidió en una época de mi vida en que me estaba planteando también cuál era mi presente, mi pasado y mi futuro. Mi padre es de Australia, yo tenía 20 y tantos, estaba planteándome hacia dónde quería ir, ¿no? Y esta lucha es algo que pensé que sería interesante poderla plasmar también en la pantalla, que es lo que hace el personaje de Ned Kelly.
Justin, tu parlaves de que és una pel·lícula que parla sobre la rebel·lió i veient-la jo em pregunto si la pel·lícula ha sortit com la pensaves, tant des del punt de vista teu, Justin, com George, en el sentit de que, o sigui, fins a quin punt la pròpia pel·lícula s'ha rebel·lat contra vosaltres.
So the movie, Justin, you were saying that it's like a rebellion, no? Has the movie come up the way you conceive it, the way you thought, or has the movie rebelled against yourselves?
I made the movie in a very frustrated kind of angry state with myself. I was frustrated with where I was sort of at as artist, and the film came out of a real sense of exploration of what I wanted to try out in cinema, you know, wanted to express. So it's completely, I didn't quite know how it was going to turn out, because I was very open to it shifting and changing and sort of telling me what it wanted to be. It's a really unruly child. It's I love it, but it's the child, the film, and I loved it at the time, but it was also really rebellious, and it was really tricky to manage, which is great. That's the sort of film I wanted to make, was something that was going to keep on walking off, and, you know, telling me that it was restless. So I don't think I could make the film like I did now, because I don't have that same feeling anymore about myself and about cinema.
Pues la verdad es que hice esta película en un momento en que estaba en un estado de mucho enfado, mucha frustración, estaba replanteándome todo lo que era mi postura como artista en general. Era un momento en el que estaba explorando y estaba tratando de llevar esta exploración al campo del cine, ¿no? Creo que la película es un niño ingobernable y me encanta en este sentido. Es rebelde, es complejo y es fantástico. Me dice mucho de la inquietud que yo sentía en este momento. Ahora mismo no sería lo mismo porque no estoy en el mismo estado que estaba cuando hice esta película.
I George, se't va revelar el personatge també contra teva?
And George, did you experiment some rebellion of the character against yourself also?
Yeah, it's funny because I think it was a bit of both. There's things about the character which I felt very deeply at our core, Ned and I were connected. But I think our exteriors and our circumstance, and therefore sort of how we've been socialized, is completely different. And I think Justin's way of working and what he wanted me to do was to I think Justin recognized the sort of inward connections, but that our exteriors were pretty much completely different. And I think he wanted my journey to be properly transforming that exterior, in an attitude, in a way of being and feeling and reacting, because he sort of trusted that there were a couple of similarities inside of us both. But so yeah, he kind of, I don't know how much he rebelled, because I think I was going more towards him, but there was definitely discoveries along the way, both in the character and in myself.
Pues sí, la verdad es que ambos, ¿no? Porque en el fondo yo experimentaba que tenía una íntima conexión con Ned en cuanto a algunos sentimientos internos, pero claro, en cuanto al exterior, todo lo que son las circunstancias y aspectos sociales son muy distintas. Justin se dio cuenta que podían mejorarse este tipo de conexiones y en realidad ha sido como un recorrido hacia la transformación de todos estos aspectos para avanzar hacia el personaje.
Realment la pel·lícula es percep molta llibertat mentre l'estava treballant, segur, almenys aquesta és la meva sensació, i després un esperit punk també molt estimulant.
We experience a lot of freedom in the movie and also a very stimulating punk spirit.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't sort of start out to make a punk film, and I didn't know what I was sort of making other than I sort of wanted those four boys, the gang, to somehow bond together. And my experience of bonding was either through football or through music, being in a band. So the boys got to know each other through having to put together a music set, and then over sort of 2 to 3 weeks at the end of the rehearsal they had to play to a substantial crowd those songs that they created over the 2 or 3 weeks. And part of the song style that we decided to choose was punk, mainly because the songs only need to be a minute and a half. And you don't necessarily need to be a great player of any instrument. You just need to have an enormous amount of attitude and truth. And that music ended up being in the film. Like the way in which we were making it was telling us what it wanted to be. So the boys they're about to release an album. That music and that attitude and that feeling of what they are in the film came from them forming a band and getting to know each other over a very tight period of time.
Pues la verdad es que inicialmente no era mi intención este espíritu punk al que te has referido, ¿no? Pero eran 4 chicos que tenían que crear un vínculo, ¿no? Y yo el único vínculo que conozco que se puede formar es o bien a través de la música, o creando o el fútbol, o una banda musical o el fútbol. Se trataba de que los 4 se conocieran, hicieran varios ensayos y al final pues la canción salió con un estilo punk. No es difícil porque tenía que ser una canción que durara 1 minuto y medio y al final esa música fue la que acabó configurando la película. Y ahora están a punto de publicar un álbum y han formado una banda musical.
Sí, George quería decir algo al respecto.
George, would you like to say anything about this?
It was stroke of genius from Justin. The band was sort of everything, and also one thing that, other than the music and the attitude that came with it, Ben Corbett, who played my dad, who played Red Kelly, is in an amazing band called 6 Foot Hick, and he's got a very particular way of his stage presence, his performance, and his dancing is this sort of hyper-masculine, androgynous, violent, self-flagellating kind of emotional, incredible performance. And he danced for us in one of our early band rehearsals. And that for me was a big thing about sort of setting an understanding of the tone of the film too. So it was Ben's dancing as much as the music.
Pues sí, Justin es un genio y la banda para él lo era todo. Ben Cohen, que es el actor que representa a mi padre en la película, de hecho forma parte de una banda y hizo una actuación, un baile que dio a la película todo un estilo totalmente andrógino y masculino. Bailó para nosotros y un poco eso marcó el tono de la película también.
Vamos a pasar a...
Just to follow up, the music in there, those two songs, they're from the band. So they're from the boys, the 4 boys in the gang.
La música de la película es de esa banda, ¿eh? Son de los 4 chicos de la banda.
Vamos a pasar a las preguntas del público.
I wonder if there is any question from the
¿Alguna
public.
pregunta? ¿Cómo se llama el grupo? Pregunta un espectador.
What's the name of the band?
Flesh and
George?
Fella.
Say that again, one of you.
Flesh and Fella.
Flash and Fellow.
Flesh and Fella.
Flash and Fella.
We're just about to release the album.
Están a punto de sacar el álbum
all the songs.
de la película.
¿Alguna pregunta más?
Any other question?
Achécate y pregunta. Hay una espectadora que agradece que hayáis hecho esta película y que dice que es una de las mejores que ha visto este año.
One of the persons present in the room is saying that thank you for having made this movie. It's one of the greatest movies she has seen so far this year.
Thank you so much. I wish I was there to see you.
Muchas gracias. Ojalá estuviera aquí para verte.
Podría girar el ordenador y enfocar el cine, pero me da miedo perder la conexión.
He could switch the computer and point to the audience, but he's afraid to lose connection.
Yeah, I was actually about to say, it's been a long time since I've seen people sitting in a cinema, and it must be a really lovely thing to see.
Sí, pues estaba a punto de decirte que hace tanto que no vea gente sentada en una sala de cine que hubiera sido maravilloso poder verlo.
Pues lo voy a intentar, y si se pierde la conexión lo intentamos reconectar.
He's going to try, and if we lose connection,
Poneros de
then
pie.
we can connect again. He's asking people to stand up so you can see them.
Un aplaudiment.
Round of applause.
Oh, fantastic.
Oh, lovely. Lucky people.
Thank you for coming.
Gracias por venir, fantástico. Es maravilloso ver esto.
Mira, que os harán una pregunta ahora, una espectadora.
Someone is going to ask you a question now.
Bueno, he leído el libro de True Histories de Kelly Gang, sé que se menciona que el padre de Ned Kelly llevaba un vestido y tal, pero es algo que se menciona. Tenía interés en saber por qué se mantuvo ese elemento durante toda la película y por qué se creía tan crucial.
I have read the book, and in the book it's mentioned that Ned Kelly's father was wearing a dress, and she would like to know, why did you keep this element in the movie, and why did you think it was so important?
Because it showed a sense of origin as to where the dresses came from. In Ireland, the Sons of Sieve were a rebel gang that would dress up in dresses and wear masks and, you know, do their hair in sort of crazy styles to scare off the British police and soldiers. And they did this because they knew that part of winning a war is at first intimidation. So if the police saw a bunch of men riding towards them hollering in dresses, they would think that they were crazy. So you needed to understand that in some sense, Ned was trying to run away from what he was meant to be, but at the same time, also running towards it.
Uh-huh.
So the father's legacy was important.
Pues sí, porque le da un poquito de sentido al origen, ¿no? De dónde vienen estos bandoleros. En Irlanda existía una banda que se llamaba Los Hijos de Sif, que llevaban máscaras llevaban unos peinados extraños, iban con vestidos, ¿no? Y lo hacían para asustar a los británicos, ¿no? Formaba parte del proceso de intimidación. Si veían a un grupo de chalados gritando y con vestidos, se pensaban que era un grupo de locos. Entonces, Ned tiene una contradicción porque a la vez quiere alejarse a ellos y huir de ellos.
¿Más preguntas?
Any other question?
Tenemos.
We do have some more questions.
És que el públic s'ha d'apropar una mica. Perquè la sala és molt gran.
It's a very big room, and that's why the audience needs to get closer
Mira,
to
faràs
him
la pregunta.
in order to ask a question.
Jo vaig dient.
Okay, I'll ask it in English.
No.
Okay. Hi guys, a terrific movie. It reminded me of Andrew Dominik's Jesse James movie, and I don't say that lightly. My question is, there's a lot of statues falling all over the world at the moment, and I think your movie is something to do with colonialism and British colonialism in Australia. Justin, do you think that subject hasn't really been dealt with enough? You've got a lot of places in Australia named after, Melbourne is named after a British Prime Minister. Is that something you want to change? Is that something you think will change? And George MacKay, what do you think of being British? You come from my neck of the woods in West London, playing an Australian hero or anti-hero.
So I'm going to repeat this question in Spanish for the audience. Dice, muchísimas gracias. En un momento en el que hay tantas estatuas que se están tirando al suelo en todo el mundo, ¿no? Esta es una película que representa un poco el colonialismo del Reino Unido en Australia y tú, por ejemplo, George, siendo británico, ¿qué sensación tienes, ¿no? De representar un papel allí?
Do you want to go first, Justin, or shall I?
¿Empiezo yo?
Yeah. The same thing is happening in Australia. The Captain Cook statue was defaced the other day, and I think there's something really important about being transparent and having an open conversation about our history, which at times doesn't go beyond Ned Kelly. And that's kind of the sort of strange point of the film, is that a lot of our musing about our history has sort of been about this 24, 25-year-old bushranger, this kid. Yet there's an incredible history that comes before it, and an Indigenous history, and also a kind of unbelievable tragedy in terms of what happened to the Indigenous in Australia that is not even sort of discussed and talked about.
One moment, I'm going to translate this first. Lo mismo está sucediendo ahora en Australia. El otro día decapitaron una estatua del Capitán Cook y, bueno, un poco se trata de mostrar la historia desde un punto de vista transparente, porque no es solamente lo que sucedió y que está plasmando el personaje de Ned Kelly, ¿no? Que es un bandolero de 24, 25 años, sino hay muchas otras tragedias detrás, como la historia de los indígenas.
So until we're honest about that dark history of what happened to the Indigenous in Australia, until we're really honest about it and open, and we start to, I don't think we're going to be able to begin to start to understand what sort of future we want.
Hasta que no seamos honrados y abiertos respecto a esa parte oscura de la historia, de lo que sucedió con la población indígena, no creo que podamos tampoco plantearnos el futuro de Australia.
So yeah, look, there was a lot in the story that was about the way we view our own history here, and what we and in a figure like Ned Kelly, how we take someone like him and use him for our own kind of agenda as to what sort of history we want.
Pues sí, en la historia hay mucho sobre cómo vemos nosotros nuestra propia historia, en el personaje de Ned Kelly, cómo utilizamos a una persona como él para lo que nosotros queremos, ¿no? Para nuestro propio programa o agenda.
George, no sé si quería decir algo.
Would you like to add anything, George?
Well, I guess to the thing about being British and and playing this Australian, it kind of, I mean, it's funny. It actually, my first instinct towards the role, and I think the kind of direction that we first looked at least at the auditioning stage and early on, was playing him Irish, as he would have been, and it's his Celtic Irish culture that meant so much to him, because that was, much of the reason for his oppression, and that made him kick back at the establishment. And so I was kind of fascinated by that because of, well, firstly, there's the Australian connection with my dad, so being half Australian, and then just I love the Celtic culture, and some of my closest loved ones are, in my life are Scots and Irish, and and I feel similarly that the more you look at it, England has got such a Britain and England has got such a dark history that it's in a way it's an honor to play these other kind of Celtic cultures. So
pues respecto a el hecho de que yo sea británico, ¿no? Y esté desempeñando el papel de un personaje australiano, pues mi primera sensación fue plantearme todo esto, ¿no? Que en realidad estaba desempeñando un papel de un irlandés. Cuáles eran los motivos que hacían que sufriera mucha más opresión, ¿no? Por otro lado, el hecho de que mi padre sea mitad australiano, todo el componente de la cultura celta que llevo encima, la diferencia que hay entre escoceses, irlandeses, la parte oscura de la historia, pues ha sido un honor poder representarlo.
¿No cuenta cómo es vuestra película? Casi es obligatorio preguntaros por la ola de lo políticamente correcto, ¿no? O el virus de lo políticamente correcto que está atacando a la cultura en general y al cine en particular, con plataformas que están retirando películas o poniendo advertencias porque son supuestamente racistas, o en fin. ¿Qué pensáis al respecto de esta ola neoconservadora y políticamente correcta?
What do you think about this wave of neoconservative and politically correct movement that is withdrawing some movies which are considered to be racist, for example, from some platforms? What do you think about this?
George?
What do you think about the conservative movement that considers some films racist? Mm. I think it's about being honest, and I think it's about being honest in the stories that you tell, and I think this moment that we're in at the minute is kind of making us look at how systematically and how racist the world is, and that's a fact, and that is uncomfortable for some, for people to admit to. And so there is therefore, perhaps a movement to kind of to belittle that by sort of, to belittle that. So I think it's, but I think it's, as Justin said, in terms of even like the Australian history, for all of us, it's about honesty and an honesty about what has come before, so that we can acknowledge that and move forward as best we can. So I think, I mean, I'm not sure what to say exactly about the sort of the movement that you speak of, but I think in general it's just important that we're honest, and that honesty, true honesty, can be compromising, and as long as it's not, that honesty isn't at the detriment of people, it can help us all move forward better.
Pues creo que uno tiene que ser honrado con las historias que explica. Sí que es verdad que de manera sistemática nos encontramos con muchos problemas y que el mundo es un mundo racista en general, y eso a veces resulta incómodo de admitir y otros prefieren ocultarlo. Pero para la historia de Australia es importante que seamos honrados no solamente con nuestro pasado, sino también con nuestro presente, para poder mirar con suficiente honradez hacia el futuro y en general en la historia también.
Justin quiere decir algo.
Justin, would you like to add anything?
You know, I think that sort of cancelling or taking these films off or paintings off a wall that may be offensive, you know, I think that I think it's important to understand and know what was made in the past. You know, that we see how times have evolved. You know, not enough, but I think it's really important with something like Gone with the Wind that, you know, you actually acknowledge and see, I guess, attitudes as opposed to kind of locking them away forever. So I think everyone sort of needs to sort of have an opportunity to kind of view work and have an opinion and a judgment about that. At the end of the day, who's to say what's what and who cancels what? And I think it's really important for people to be able to view things and for those things to be judged, you know, now and in the future.
Pues creo que esto de cancelar o retirar, ¿no?, cuadros o películas que puedan resultar ofensivos, a mí me parece que es más importante entender lo que pasó, conocer el pasado. Es verdad que los tiempos han evolucionado, pero una película como Lo que el viento se llevó nos puede ayudar a entender las actitudes del momento, ¿no? Y creo que todo el mundo debería tener la oportunidad de ver obras del pasado que representan esos momentos, poder tener su opinión al respecto y quién es quién para cancelar o retirar según qué cosas.
Justin, George, me sabe mal, pero tenemos que dejarlo aquí. Podríamos seguir hablando mucho más rato, pero tenemos que ir dejándolo.
Justin, George, I'm very sorry, but we have to call it a day. We could be speaking for many more hours, but we have to end the Q&A.
Desde el Barcelona.
Thank you so much.
Desde el Barcelona.
Thank you very much.
Os agradecemos mucho.
Thank you very much.
Si los oís.
Round of applause. Can you hear them?
Yeah.
We can. Thank you.
Eso, ha sido un placer hablar con vosotros y ha sido un placer tener una película tan atípica como la vuestra, y lo digo atípica en el sentido más positivo que os podáis imaginar, tan rompedora, tan perturbadora, insisto. Tardaré en olvidar el tiroteo final y la secuencia con el bebé, por cierto, que no hemos hablado.
So it's been a pleasure welcoming your film into the festival, such an atypical film, and I say it in a very positive way, very disturbing. It will take me a while to forget the final shooting scene and also the sequence with the baby. We haven't talked about that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for hosting it and thank you for including it in your festival. We're very honored.
Muchas gracias por incluirla en vuestro festival, es un gran honor.